Brandon, Suffolk. In 1914, the town was, in many ways, not much different to Brandon of today. You may recognise familiar landmarks and shop fronts from their time. They even witnessed the beginnings of modern-day technology, when wealthy residents brought telephones and motor cars to Brandon. The biggest change to Brandon life was not from social advances or even the new technology. It came from an assassination that led to a world war. Back in 1914, residents voiced their concern over youth antisocial behaviour, with seating on the avenue being a place for groups to congregate. Brandon councillors perceived the town was being neglected by Suffolk County Council, or at least Brandon was very low on the council's pecking order. One example was the council's inability to resolve the constant flooding along Thetford Road, which lingered on through most of the war. In many ways, Brandon back then was the same as today. But in many other ways, the town could not have been more different. There was very little traffic, but there was a plethora of shops, which included Houseman and Rellan, clothing, Footer, harness maker, Toombs, hairdresser, Neep, grocer, Sale, saddler, Gentle, butcher, Diggin, saddler, Clark, wool shop, Chapman, draper, Grimes, wine merchant, Hyam, baker, Willett, bootmaker, Colin, grocer, Tyzack ran the post office, Caban, hairdresser, Sparrow, photographer, Davies, jeweller, watchmaker, English, tailor, Osborne, ladies' fashion, Hildyard, chemist, Moore, butcher, and Dr. Trotter. And police patrolled the streets on foot. Any youngster with thoughts of bad deeds were often corrected with a clip round the lug hole. However, there was also disease, poor living conditions, poor wages, and children's aspirations were generally limited to following their parents' footsteps, such as labourers, servants, or housewives. Another difference was the rigid social and class structure. It seemed that wealth bought influence. In April, it was announced that Brandon Park Estate had been bought by the well-known engineer Sir John Aird. He was immediately enrolled as a Brandon magistrate. Other magistrates included Colonel Edward Mackenzie from Downham Hall, Lieutenant Colonel Boyd Hamilton from Brandon House, Lieutenant Basil Spragg of Northcourt, and Albert William Routrout of Heath House. Local councils were picked from the town's wealthy businessmen, many owning large houses in the town, and this was during a time when women and 40% of all men were not allowed to vote. At the other end of the social ladder, a Brandon branch of the Workers' Union was created in a meeting held in the Ram Hotel. About 40 members signed up, with key positions going to Alfred Challis, a shopkeeper who was voted in as president. Archibald Rolfe, an employee of the fur factory, became secretary, and Albert Challis was treasurer. He was also a lay preacher at the Town Street Methodist Church. In a time when king and country were prominent in daily life, the town's decision-makers encouraged the virtues of patriotism and nationalism upon the town's children. On Monday the 22nd of June, which was Coronation Day, Brandon saw school children assemble on the Market Hill, raise the Union Jack flag on the school's flagpole and sing patriotic songs. Such titles included What Can I Do for England? Hail, hail, King George, God save our King. Ivy Mutum and Mabel Edwards sang their song, entitled Motherland. Mr. Frederick Gentle, town councillor and High Street butcher, stood and addressed the children. He told them, "Remember what you have been singing about. Fear not the talk that England was going down. You should not believe it. England had been great, and she would still be so if the rising generation would but do their duty." Perhaps Mr. Gentle had an inkling of what was coming. More becoming to the children's appetite for fun were the traditional summer Sunday school parades. The Methodist, Baptist and St Peter's churches would have each had a separate day to parade. They would have done so with marching bands and banners, and they would have started at the Market Hill and headed off down to the meadow by the railway. The meadow also became a venue for sports, games and a fun fair. The day then concluded with tea time treats at the old maltings by the old bridge. On Saturday the 4th of April 1914, Brandon concluded its football season with a 2-1 win at Elvedon. And then the following month, the cricket club opened up their season by beating Croxton. In 1914, summer seemed like it would be no different to any other that had been before. Then, on the 4th of August, Britain declared war and life never returned to how it once was.